The Maryland State Education Superintendent, Carrie Wright, has proposed a controversial program for holding back third graders from advancing to fourth grade if they aren't proficient in reading. The idea being that one can't function in our society if they're not proficient in reading by the end of the third grade. Mike, what do you think of this proposal?
Well, I think if you're going to be serious, you have to be serious. And and so this is a way to show that we as a state are paying attention to this and actually putting the right mechanisms in place. Interestingly, to Stacey's point, Dr. Wright started here. She was an MCPS associate superintendent before she went to Mississippi. And so, yes, we're learning from Mississippi, but Mississippi learned from us first, and we're bringing back those learnings and actually putting the leader in place that we need to make sure that our third graders are reading. The one thing that's interesting about what's been proposed is it's not carte blanche if you haven't passed that you're held back. You have to get, there's a consent element that parents can actually approve moving their children to fourth grade but acknowledge that they need to have additional supports if that's in fact the case, if they haven't met the requirements to read at a third grade level. So it's not as though that they're all held back and that's the only option that there is. But I think if you're going to be serious, we have to put real requirements in place, and that's going to hold teachers accountable, and it's going to hold parents and families and students accountable. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
So that leads to the question I was going to ask you, Stacey, is, there is a parent buy-in part of this program, but there's also a teacher buy-in that has to be imposed. So are these? This is a relatively controversial program because many complaints are that the socialization of the children will be harmed if they're held back. What's your feeling on this?
First of all, I agree with many of Mike's points. And I really believe that this is something that should be given a shot if it means even one child has a better shot at life. And third grade is a real launching pad into deeper learning in subsequent years. But I can see the clashes arising between parents and teachers over this. And I recall with great clarity when I was a kid that those kids that were held back were pretty badly stigmatized, pretty sad. My personal concerns are, as previously stated, if more resources are going to English as a second language students, then would children who would otherwise perform to standards be unnecessarily dragged down by lack of resources and attention? And then would they be held back or at risk of being held back? I can see parents fighting this. And I also worry that some third grade teachers might use this as a crutch and a cudgel. Still, it's really hard to handicap this without giving it a try. And I think it's worth a try.
The solution, which I think is universally should be accepted, is that the voucher system should be in place so that parents can make a choice as to what schools they want to go to and where they want to spend their tax dollars.